Well, hello. We have here Heather Standing, matchmaker, promotions expert, aka Boss Lady MMA. Nice to have you with us today, Heather. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Good, waking up early just for you, to
It's
talk to you.
dark here, so you
How's
know,
the weather over there?
like high 70s, low 80s, so perfect for August. I don't like anything above 85. I'm like, so it's good.
So
I'm a
in
Pacific.
summertime it gets hot over there though, right?
Oh, I mean, at the most 100. I mean, 95 to 100 in the summertime, but it's usually 60s, and I'm happy with that. So 60s and
Yeah.
70s make me happy. So yeah,
I know what you mean. Even though, like, I mean, hot weather for me is perfect on a holiday, on a vacation, you
yeah,
know.
exactly.
But living in a country or in a city where the hot weather is like almost 24/7 is very unbearable. At least to me, it's too much.
Yeah, I
I
like the
remember
rain.
because I did part of my high school in Florida.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, so that's hot. There's hot, and I was like, God damn, everywhere
and
was
humid
18.
too. Yeah, everything's all
Yeah,
sticky.
it's too much. Like here in Finland, as you know, the weather is cold most of the time. And
Yeah,
I kind of enjoy it. The winter's
yeah,
beautiful, full of snow.
mhm,
But the hardest thing for me is the darkness during the winter.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
because it's dark almost 24/7, and you get sleepy, you get lazy.
That
Like
seasonal depression that they call it. Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
So, and I thought it was like, okay, maybe within time I'll get used to it. It's been such a long time, and I'm not used to it.
Hmm.
And also the local people, they tell me like, no, I never get used to the darkness. It's still hard.
Yeah.
So what many do is that, well, mostly retirees, that
Hmm.
when they retire, they go to Spain during the winter, and they come back
Oh,
to Finland during the summer. So
yep. Snowbirds.
yeah. So
Mm,
Heather, how you been, like, with everything, with handling
busy.
your new position?
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah,
Yes,
busy. Just they keep
this
me very
busy.
busy.
Hmm.
I'm very lucky. When all this stuff hit, with COVID, the world stopped working. I mean, I had a full-time government, nice plush job that I had been at for 7 years, and I literally quit my job in January.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, I'm gonna do this stuff full time. I've been in the business for 10 plus years. Like, it's time. And then of course COVID hits, and so it's kind of became like a joke of like, in Chael I trust, because Chael has kept me busy. He's like, we're not stopping working. I'm like, oh, okay. So yeah, it's
Nice.
been an adventure. It's always an adventure with him. So yeah.
So how did he? Do you know how he contacted you? Because I know he just sent you an email, right?
Well, so there's a little history there. So he also owns the FCFF, which is called Full Contact Fighting Federation,
Okay.
and it's an amateur MMA event in Portland, Oregon. And it's been around, I think this year was 20 years. It's been around for a long time. It's the oldest show in Oregon for amateur MMA. And it also does occasional pro fights, but pretty much an amateur side show. Um, so he owns part of that. And so when he decided to do Submission Underground, I was already working for the FCFF as a matchmaker. And so he literally just emailed me one day. I hadn't worked with him yet. I knew who he was, obviously, but
Yeah.
I hadn't really worked with him. And he emailed me one day and he says, hey, we have this grappling show we're going to do. We'd like to have you on board. You'll just do everything that you do for FCFF with, Submission Underground. Are you in? I mean, his emails are very short. It's like two sentences. You have to translate what he wants, and you say yes, because it's Chael. And here we are, 4 years later, and I didn't have a clue what I was doing then, and hopefully I have a little bit more of a clue now. But it's been fun. It's been 4 years, which is insane to think it's been 4 years already. So
Well, that screams a lot. Your talent, your
thank you.
professional talent and everything. That's fantastic. Like, I don't know, if
Yeah,
I would get an email today by Chael Sonnen or somebody of that caliber, I think I will be scared to reply. I'll be starstruck.
you just always say yes. They say that you fake it till you make it. So you say yes, and then you learn as you go. And if
And so,
he's going
yeah,
to
you
trust
gotta
in
say
me
yes
to do it,
To Uncle Shale, right?
yeah, it was Uncle Chael. I mean, if he's going to trust me to represent the company and do that, then I have to trust in myself, right?
Yeah, of course. No, that's pretty amazing. I've seen like what you do and everything, and what Shale is doing with this submission underground. Extremely interesting. You know, I
Yeah.
am fairly new to Brazilian Jiu Jitsu.
Uh-huh.
Mainly, I've been only a stand-up fighter, kickboxing. I
Mm-hmm.
did that for 7 years, competed professionally. But this year, I decided, okay, let me try MMA. You know,
Yeah.
let me try MMA. I'm already old for the sport. I'm 34 years old, and next week I'm turning 35.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Yes.
Still, I'm gonna be expecting a message from you on the day, okay?
Yeah. Okay. I'll try not to slip up on that.
So, obviously, since I wanted to do MMA, I decided to work first on Brazilian Jiu Jitsu.
Uh-huh.
So I went back to the basics because my knowledge in Jiu Jitsu
Yeah.
is very limited. So I went to a beginner's course. I trained there. Everything was going well. And I started loving the sport. I have to say, I enjoy BJJ more than kickboxing.
Okay.
You
Okay.
know, it was interesting
Yeah.
because I feel it's more strategic, definitely. You
Mm-hmm.
know, and you don't rely all the time on only on brute force.
Yeah.
You rely on, like I said, on strategy, taking your patience
Yeah.
and all that. Not only in the training, but also in the sparring session, in competitions. You got to take your patience, look at what you're doing,
Mm-hmm.
be aware. So that those kind of like really got my attention, got me thinking
Yeah.
a lot more, and I feel that my fighting IQ is growing. I hope, at least I hope.
Yeah. No, well, of course. I mean, it's the physical chess game, right? That's what they call it. I mean,
Yes,
yeah.
definitely. That's
Mm-hmm.
very well described. Physical chess game.
Yeah.
Because I always compared
Yeah.
it to chess. I was like, it's like
Yeah.
chess. You
Mm-hmm.
know, every move that you do counts, and
Yes.
sometimes it could backfire. You know, it
Mm-hmm.
has happened to me, and I was so excited because I got my first fight for October, scheduled for October, and I hurt my knee. I tore some
Oh.
ligaments. You know, so I'm now on bed rest, and I'm bored as hell. But then I was like, then you get this. I was like tuning in Fight Pass first time, like some months later, some months ago,
Yeah.
Submission Underground, and that was like, wow, so interesting, and I got to appreciate the sport a lot more. And then
Mm-hmm.
the rules and everything, and the thing that blew my mind was the tag team thing. Oh my god!
I'll take some credit for that. I appreciate that. I'm gonna tell Chael you said that.
Oh really? Like, tell me about
Yeah.
that. Okay, was it your
Yeah.
idea?
Yeah. Well, yes. So we had done, I think, 6 or 7 shows, and it was going good. I mean, we had great names and everything else, but we were trying to bring in, so Saturday nights we would have our MMA show, like I was telling you, and then Sunday we would do Submission Underground. Well, Saturday night we would have this full arena, like 1,000 people, just rowdy, like cheering, yay! And then Sunday we did Submission Underground. It's like a library. I mean, it's just quiet, like a pin drop. You hear it. And we were like, this is not okay. This is weird. We want to have some interaction.
Yeah.
And I told him, I said, Chael, back in 2013, I was working a show in another state. And I said, we did tag team jujitsu. And it's kind of silly, but it's also strategic, and it can be fun, and the crowd gets into it. And I said, then what we'll do is if it gets to a draw, we'll make the crowd decide, so that engages the crowd. And he says, let's do it. He was like, okay. And oh my gosh, it was a lot of fun. We're actually hoping to bring it back soon. So it's just, we're trying to, we have to get through COVID. We're like,
Of
too many
course.
bodies in the cage. But social distancing is hard with tag team, but yeah.
No, but that's pretty amazing. Like, awesome idea that you brought there to the table.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been fun. Some people hate it. Some people think it's stupid and it misrepresents the sport, yada yada yada. But a lot of people enjoy it. It's fun. It's entertainment, and part of
It is
promoting
very
entertainment.
entertaining. It's very interesting. I can understand why jiu-jitsu athletes might think, okay, That's because kind of
They
like
think it's like
there's
a little
a little
WWE.
bit of an unfair
Yeah.
advantage to the other guy.
Yeah.
But I think it's fun, and then like you said, we got to entertain the fans, and
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they are entertained by it.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
love it
Yeah.
or
The
hate
fans
it, we'll
enjoy it.
be tuning into that part, like, oh no, like he tagged, like why,
Yeah.
or like, oh yeah, he did it, all this stuff.
Yeah. It's very interactive. It's a very interactive thing, and you got to keep points, and it's fun. It's a lot of fun.
Cool,
So,
cool. So
yeah.
tell me, Heather, I know it's boring, repetitive question, and I gotta ask, how is it working with Uncle Chael?
Fun. It's educational. I'm actually very blessed in the fact that he's a brilliant mind. I mean, he's obviously a character that people know, he's Uncle Chael, he's the American gangster, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
But he's brilliant. I mean, he's very smart. He is the master of the chess game. He's always 10 steps ahead. And it's fun to keep up with him and see his wheels turn, and just the things that he comes up with is just genius. And he's fun, he's charming, he's hilarious, and he knows he's got a high fight IQ, obviously. He's very much current on everything. I mean, stays actively involved in the sport, whether he's fighting or not. And it's been a really awesome experience to learn underneath of him. I mean, working for Chael will sometimes mean like 2 a.m. text messages of him excited, and he's in another state, and so it's a different time frame, and he's excited. I mean, when we I like to tell this story actually. When we it was our second submission underground, so I was still new working with him.
Okay.
And we had just secured John Jones for SUG 2. And he knew I'd be excited because I'm a fight fan first. So he knew I'd be stoked. And it was like midnight. He messages me. He's like, "You'll never guess who we got." And it must have been like 8 messages, like, "Go ahead, guess. You'll never guess." Like, yeah. And he's just like, and I'm like, "Tell me," And he starts spelling it out, like every text was a different letter, and he's like, "John," and I'm like, "No way." And he's like, "I told you wouldn't believe me," And so he's very fun. He's excited, and he loves what he does, and it's a good time. It's a good time to work with him and just see his mastery at work. So
how's the relationship between those two today, John Jones and Chael Sonnen?
I can't imagine very good. I can't imagine very good. I think they've had like a bittersweet, like, love-hate relationship. I don't think that John is a fan of Chael speaking out about his horrible tweets and whatever else that he does. Whatever else John does. John likes to supply Chael with plenty of material, but he doesn't like Chael responding to it.
He does, yeah, he does. Not only to shit, to a lot of people, man.
Yeah.
Like this guy. Yeah. But like I can imagine. Well, I don't know, but for the looks of it, maybe I always thought, okay, working with a person like Chael Sonnen, it might be difficult because he seems intense. Is he?
No, he's super friendly. I mean, I think Chael is someone who is, I don't want to say used to get in his way because that makes him sound like he's a brat or something. I think he's someone who's used to saying, "I want this," and going and getting it. And I don't think he likes people that are hesitant about that. If he's got an idea, he wants to run with it. I mean, he'll respect your opinion and he'll hear you out, but ultimately that's the direction he's going and he's going to go it,
Okay.
And so I've just learned with Chael, like, I'm a total yes man when it comes to Chael, or yes woman, whatever. It's like, so if he's like, "We're doing this," I'm like, okay. I mean, it's just, okay. And so it's, I mean, he's super respectful, super kind, friendly, and he definitely does value his staff's opinion, and that's nice. And but yeah, I mean, I don't know when these ideas come to him, if they come to him on a plane or in bed at night. I have no idea, but he just comes up with things, and everything that he touches turns to gold for the most part. So it's not a bad investment to keep moving forward with him. So
no, amazing. You can tell that the guy, he's business savvy, 100%.
very, yeah,
very, very business savvy. And like I'm now, because obviously I started watching him as a fighter. He's still fighting, but
yes,
I'm now more of a fan of his podcast and what he's saying and doing all
Yeah.
Yeah.
He tells it like it is, you know, and he doesn't always get it right. He doesn't always get it right, but he likes to misspell people's names, but other than that.
No, he does, like, and that is something that I have always. For example, I am myself like that. I am very direct to people, and some people get quite sensitive, and sometimes that's annoying.
Yeah.
Like, oh, come on, really?
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
But like this guy, he seems like he's like that. But even if people get annoyed, he just doesn't give a damn. Like he doesn't give a fuck. Like, well, whatever.
Pretty much, yeah. Pretty much.
Yeah.
Like, that's on you. Yeah.
Pretty much. That's awesome, though. That's cool.
Yes, he is thoughtful, though. He tries not to offend people too much. So, yeah.
Yeah. So tell me, Heather,
Yes.
tell me about your background and how you got into the fight industry.
Sure.
In the first place. Yeah.
You know, honestly, like, I mean, when I was like 13, 14, I used to watch the UFC on TV, you know, when Randy Couture was fighting and all that stuff early in the day. Yeah. My brother was on the wrestling team, so I was always around that kind of stuff too. But it wasn't until about 2008, I actually started dating a professional fighter.
Okay.
And locally, and that's kind of how that happened. But he became a matchmaker for a local show, and I started helping out doing wristbands, and I was the runner going and getting the fighters to come out and walk out to the cage. And his memory was horrible. He got hit too many times in the head, honestly. And so I became his memory. I was memorizing everyone's names and faces and just kind of, you know, immersing myself in the culture, you know, and in the community. And he took me to events. And anyway, long story short, we started putting on our own shows. We got married, opened up a gym, put on our own shows, and eventually our marriage dissipated, but I kept doing it. You know, he ended up doing something else, but I kept on, you know, being involved in the show, and I was just kind of running the events. I wasn't matchmaking at the time, and he was the matchmaker for all of our events, and he one day said, you know, I don't want to do it anymore, but you can, and you're capable. And just like I told Chael, I said, okay. And my first show that I match made was in 2013, and I started working for the FCFF I went and worked for King of the Cage, and then I worked for FCFF in 2015 is when they brought me on. And then Submission Underground started 2016. And then just like 2 weeks ago, we started Wrestling Underground. So I don't know if you've seen all that, but that's happening too. So yeah, they started up Wrestling Underground, which is actually going to air on Sunday after Submission Underground. Same night, same cage. So we're going to have actual wrestlers in there. And I told you, the wheels are always turning. I'm just here for the ride. You know? So
exciting, also career-wise. Jesus, very nice.
Yeah. I commentate, I matchmake, I've reported for articles, for news. I mean, I try to be involved in everything. I did take a fight once. It didn't go well. I'm not a fighter. But I can say I did it, and a lot of people can't say that. So it's true.
That is true.
That is true. So yeah.
So what was the fight? MMA?
Oh yeah, it was an amateur MMA fight. It was horrible.
What made you decide to take a fight? What happened there? Like, wanted to give it a try?
I told you I was a yes woman, and honestly, how it happened was my ex was matchmaking, and a girl pulled out of the fight, and he's like, "It's time for you to do it," and I'm like,
"Step up."
Okay. And I'll tell you what, I understand now why fighters like last-minute fights sometimes, because the mental game that happens knowing that you're engaging in conflict with somebody in a couple weeks in front of all these people and in a cage, it's just the two of you, it's a lot, you know. I mean, for someone who's not a fighter, I never fought in school, I never did any of that stuff, you know. I mean, but so they tried to teach me boxing and jiu-jitsu and MMA basically in a month or something.
No, really?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You have guts. I had
a great game plan, but it didn't work. She flash KO'd me. We'll call it that. I was awake when I fell down backwards.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, it's like, you know, it's one of those bruised ego things. But everyone's like, "Don't you want the redemption of the loss?" No, I do not. I'm good. I'll stay outside the cage. I'll let everyone else play in there. So. Yeah.
Man, that is crazy. Interesting point that you mentioned, that taking a fight at the last minute is kind of,
Hmm.
in some ways, positive, because you don't have to struggle with that mental game at the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, the mental. I mean, I'll tell you what. If I was awake, I was thinking about it,
No,
and that
absolutely,
was,
absolutely. Like myself, for example, I have never been in a televised show or with
yeah.
a like fight against big crowd. Probably like the biggest crowd that I fought was, I mean, that witness was some of my fights with like 100 people. You
Oh,
know.
this one was only 300, and thank God for that.
But
Thank God it was a little tiny show. Thank God.
yeah, you like before the fight, because I like fighting. I have it. I do. I
Yeah.
can say I enjoy it.
Yeah.
But there have been many times that literally before the fight, I'm freaking out. And
Hmm.
I'm even telling my coach, no, I cannot do this. No, I'm sorry. Please,
Yeah.
please tell the guy that not like I'm sorry that this is off. And he has to kind
Hmm.
of bring me back to earth, like snap out of it. And then he slaps me something.
Yeah.
He slapped me or something. And like, okay, let's go. And boom, boom, boom. And I will still be nervous,
Hmm.
And it has, I think until today, I get that little nervous. It's a like also because you don't want, it's an ego thing as well. You don't want to
Yeah.
lose.
Exactly. Yeah.
You don't think much about getting hurt. You just don't want to lose. You want to do a good.
I think nerves are good though, because it means that you want to win. It means that you care, you know. But I was praying for a car accident. I'm like, just enough to hospitalize me for the night. Just enough. We'll reschedule, but we won't, you know. Just like I didn't want. I was like, no. And you know what was worse? What was worse is it was our show, and so I had to like do weigh-ins and also weigh in, you know.
What?
And
That's
while
crazy.
our show was getting set up, my mom was over setting it up at the venue, and I'm getting my hair braided. Like that's the environment, you know. It's horrible, horrible.
Wow. And,
Yeah, yeah.
so you had your gym, right? You mentioned before
Yes,
with your
yes,
ex-husband. Was it an MMA gym?
it was. Yeah, but I mean, it was. We also did like women's classes and kids classes. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And that's in that gym was the origin of your nickname, Boss Lady.
It was. Yes, yeah. We had two employees, and every time I came into the gym, hey, boss lady, and so I took my fight while we owned that gym, and most people will tell you that you're not supposed to give yourself a nickname, and you don't get a nickname till your second fight, blah blah blah. And I didn't give myself the nickname, but I took it for that first fight. And and it was kind of a respect thing, which I appreciated too. I mean, people were super respectful to me using it, and it just kind of stuck. So that's where we're at with it. And it works. I have an Instagram handle I can use, so it's like
It's a cool nickname, I have to admit, Boss Lady MMA. It is
yeah,
a cool
yeah,
nickname. I remember when
yeah.
I was fighting, my nickname at that time was Bulldozer.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay. I haven't heard that one. That's actually, I have not heard that. So
yeah, like well,
I
my,
hear a
my
lot of
coach gave
repeat
it to me, man.
nicknames.
And, like I was sparring with him, and then he's like, "Dude, you're like a bulldozer." And Bolivian bulldozer, and I was like, "Man, I like it," and then it just stuck. Well, at least
Hmm.
people forgot about it. I should start telling it again.
Don't let them forget.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I was about like I was like planning like on my first fight to say okay to my new coach, like, okay, call me Bulldozer.
Uh-huh.
But that went out the window. Hopefully I get a fight next year.
It's funny.
Yeah. Now that you have been in the MMA scene and now in the jiu-jitsu scene, which is
Mhm.
more, because definitely it's different. It is related, but it's different. But
It's
which is
very
more
different.
exciting, and who do you
Oh,
like?
MMA. For me,
MMA.
for me, yeah. I mean, that was my background. So I mean, I've been in the MMA game for well, for like 7 years before I started on jiu-jitsu. And I don't train jiu-jitsu. I don't train MMA either. But the fans are just so much more excited with MMA, and that's one thing I miss right now during COVID is we don't have any fans. Like everything's just online and pay-per-view, and it changes the environment, it changes the atmosphere. It's like with the jujitsu, I said it was like a library because it was all quiet, but the difference that I noticed is that in MMA, people are drinking beer and they're cheering on, Joe down the street, whatever. They're there to have a good time. It's a date night, the whole bit. With the jujitsu side, it's almost like they're coming to watch a seminar. Like it's like they're learning, they're quiet because they're being respectful and learning, and it's like they're watching a craft that they're studying. And it's not that way in MMA. It's like, knock him out, elbow, you know, whatever.
Exactly. Yeah.
Punch him in the face, you know. So it's more exciting for the MMA side as far as like just the hype and the vibe.
Yeah.
But you know, learning jujitsu and obviously through Submission Underground and the people, there's some exciting grapplers also, you know, they're very slick with it. I mean, so many names come to mind. I don't want to offend anybody by not naming them, but it is exciting. The more I've learned about it and the different strategic moves, once you have that knowledge, you get that personal excitement watching it and going, ooh, you know, because you can see what's happening, and that's cool. So
Correct. That is
yeah,
very true. I remember when this COVID thing first started, like, and they were announcing that there were going to be fights, but without any fans, spectators. First thing that came to mind was golf, you know, because like, okay, he's putting in the green, you
one of
know.
the most boring sports.
Yeah, but it was all right, especially in the jiu-jitsu thing, because it's quite like you say. I remember when I first started jiu-jitsu and I would see my friends spar or compete, I would be pretty one or the only guy saying, "Come on, man, you can do it. Come on!" And everybody's
Yeah.
looking at me, and I was like, "Okay, I'm sorry. I'll be quiet." And then I started learning myself, and it's a pleasure to watch, especially a person or a match that is with so much technique and patience, and all
Yeah.
of them have
Yeah.
a very high level of jiu-jitsu. Because like you said, you do learn a lot by watching, and
Well,
it's
and you have
very exciting.
the different belt levels, you know, and we initially started out Submission Undergrounds having 20 plus matches, everything from teens, kids to adults,
Yeah.
and all skill levels. I mean, it was blue belt and above basically, and now we're trying to keep it more brown belt, black belt only.
Okay.
But there's those purple belts like Austin Vanderford. We have Pierre Olivier on this next card on Sunday. He's a purple belt, which is insane, you know.
Yeah.
Mason Fowler, who's going against Craig Jones, he's a brown belt, which is also insane. These people are, you know, I told them that they're all sandbagging, you know. But no, we are very fortunate that we have some really amazing talent. I mean, just watching Craig Jones is incredible to see.
That is
You
so
know, he's very slick with it. Very, you know.
very smooth. Like when he's gliding on the mat.
Mhm.
Very, very smooth. I still have
Yeah,
that problem of being quite explosive on the mat. You know, I need to calm myself
yeah.
down, but it will come with time. I need to be.
Well, it's good and bad to be explosive. You know, sometimes if you're too aggressive and you get caught up in it, and it's just you're leaving yourself open because you get sloppy. You know, and
Yes,
so it's like that fine line of controlled aggression of like, you know, you're trying to do something, but you're not. You know, you're
correct.
keeping yourself
Because
guarded.
my strategy, for example, in kickboxing, when I used to fight, because I'm a heavyweight, so when I used
Yeah.
to fight in kickboxing, my number one strategy was at the beginning just to knock the guy out as fast as I can.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You know. But then I learned also to pace myself a little bit, you know, because like if I use all my strength at the beginning, I'll be tired, I'll be gassed out by the end of the first round.
Right.
So I try to be more strategic and learn the movement of my opponent, study what he's doing, and so forth.
Mhm.
Then I went to Brazilian Jiu Jitsu and I started like also grappling and sparring with the guys. I will have that same mentality. Okay, I have to take them down. They take them down fast,
Yeah.
and that I started like thinking it was working for me, but I noticed that all my energy was wasted on the takedown.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
I will get those 2 points,
Yeah.
but I will be tired after. And now
Yeah.
sometimes I would just like be on the guy, and I would tell the guy, man, fuck it, what do we do here now? I'm tired,
Yeah.
you know. So
Yeah.
now, like for example, I have changed that strategy. Now I pull guard most of the time, and
Mhm.
from
Mhm.
there I grab them, and it has been working out for me. I hope it still works out for me, you know. But yeah, definitely different. And I got to see the difference between the MMA fan and the BJJ fan. I don't
Mhm.
want to be an asshole, but sometimes the MMA fan can be such a dickhead. Oh my
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Well, it's because it's meant. It's at its rawest form. It's a fight, and
god.
people from all walks of life sometimes just want to see a fight, and they get. It's kind of like when you go to like I always say when you go to the if you go to like NASCAR or you know just a drag strip night. you leave the parking lot squealing your wheels because it's like that's the environment you're in.
Right.
And I think fans sometimes are like, oh, punch him in the face, and like that's and it takes them back to like a schoolyard moment or something, and so they're just, it's not really like a respectful sport all the time.
That is true. That is true. Like my friend, for example, I was back in the day. At that time, I was in Honduras to visit some people, and my friend was like, "Hey, man, there's this MMA event happening. You are into that? Let's go watch it." I was like, "Fantastic, let's do it." And I was like watching the fight, but looking like, "Oh, go, nice takedown." And my friend was like, "Dude, kick his ass, punch him in the face, do it, don't be a pussy." I'm like, "Dude, that's not cool." And he was not the only one that doing that. Like pretty much everybody was screaming those things.
Yeah. Those are the guys that, we all know are going to be at the bars on fight night. And we're like, we'll just pay-per-view it at home. We don't want to hear,
Funny enough, those guys are the ones who make the most comments, like, oh, how can he get topped out? It's so easy. And this and that. And it's just, that pisses me off.
Because they choose not to understand the rule set. And so they're like, why do they keep going to the ground? Whatever. So it's just kind of
And I even sometimes I would not challenge them. Like quite recently, a friend of mine, I was watching a YouTube video of the 2019 ADCC's one of the finale, but one of the fights. I don't remember who I was watching, but I was like I was like looking into it, and he was looking the fight. I was like, man, that's easy. I could do that. I would like to do that with you. He says. I was like, man, have you trained jiu-jitsu? I'm like, no. Like, that's easy. And that bothered me. And I even told him, like, let's do it, man. Like, let's do it. But, like, let's make a bet. If I tap you out on the first minute, you buy me, I told him something expensive. I cannot mention it online. And then he immediately backed out. And I was like, dude, come on, man. Back up what you're saying, right? You're saying that it's easy. And everything. And then he backed out. I didn't insist. And my wife was telling me, hey, you should have asked something like smaller, not that big. So he would like said yes, or you would talk about, And then he started saying like, when I was a kid, I used to do karate. I used to do Aikido. I used to do this. I used to do that. And like, I was like, okay, how long have you been training all that? And like, it's like 2 years. And he mentioned like 6 disciplines. 6 martial arts, like 2 years. I'm like, okay, good for you, bro. Like,
you watch some YouTube video, and the YouTube fighters are always fun. Yeah, exactly.
Man. So like, now how's the new position going?
It's good. I mean, I got a phone call. I think it was only 2 weeks ago, maybe 2.5 or 3. And they said, we're going to do another promotion. We're going to do Wrestling Underground. And do you want to do everything you do for Submission Underground? And I'm like, okay. And, I'm not the matchmaker, which is nice. The guy that owns the other half of FCFF is Kevin Keeney, and he is the matchmaker. And, Kevin and Chael, they met, I believe the story was they met as roommates in college, and they're both a wrestling background. So to them, wrestling is like a huge passion of theirs anyway. And we're bringing in some very high level elite wrestlers on Sunday. I'm excited, very excited. So this is our first show. It was kind of a rush job, but we got really good talent, and we're getting the word out. And it's exciting because it's right after Submission Underground, and so hopefully everybody that's tuning in for Submission Underground will stay up and they'll watch, Wrestling Underground and maybe become a fan, or at least spread the word. And we're hoping for success with that event. And so we'll have fights and wrestling and jiu-jitsu, and who knows what's next.
That's wow. That sounds very exciting. Does Submission Underground have a website, Heather?
That's funny that you say that. So we do not currently. So we have been operating out of the FCFF's website, but I just got hired by them to do that.
Okay.
So I do all the graphics. I started doing graphic design for them like a little over a year ago or something, about a year and a half ago. So I do all the posters and all the graphics that you see. I do all of that. And so I told them, I said, we need a website. We need a website for Wrestling Underground, Submission Underground, and FCFF. And I said, let's do it all as one. So we're going to do one website that's going to have pages for each of them. And that's my next project after Sunday. So,
Interesting.
so
Okay, that's a big project.
Yes, like I said, they keep me busy. They keep me very busy. So
can you elaborate a little bit more for the people that don't know? What are your key responsibilities and tasks in Submission Underground?
In Submission Underground, I'm the matchmaker. So I matchmake the card from top to bottom. Obviously, Chael inputs, you know, people that he makes deals with, because I don't even matchmake usually for the next show until the day after the show, because so many things happen on show night and he makes deals with people and he's like, by the way, we need to get an opponent for this person, this person. I'm like, okay. So I try not to make promises to anybody anymore. But yeah, so I matchmake it. I handle all the travel. I handle all the graphics. I do all of our social media accounts, all of them. So I handle all of that. I do the paperwork at the events. I transport people back and forth from the hotel. Like, everything that they're not doing, I'm doing. So it's, I do all the notes, like all of Chael's notes for the commentary. If he screws it up, that's not my fault, but I do them. You know?
That's good to know.
So,
that's
yeah.
good to know.
I told him, like, you're making me look bad, Chael. I gave you good notes, but no. Yeah, so I do a lot of things. You know, people always ask me that, and I'm like, there's a lot, you know, but it's fun. I mean, with Wrestling Underground, I'm doing everything but the matchmaking that I just mentioned. I'm doing all of that too. So for that.
Sounds like you're busy 24/7.
Very busy. I'm very busy. Yeah, it's good though. It's very good.
But do you have time for yourself?
Huh?
Do you get time for yourself?
I do. Well, so my birthday was a couple weeks ago. It was
Congratulations, happy birthday.
Thank you. It was the 15th, and it was so funny because they called me about Wrestling Underground like 3 days before that. And I told them, I said, hey, this is probably a good time to let you know I'm going out of town for a few nights for my birthday. And they're like, okay. And so I got the poster out before I left, because I'm like, I need to get the poster done and, you know, be done with that. And, you know, they're like, is it okay if we text you, you know, while you're at the beach? I was like, yeah, you can text me. Business doesn't stop just because I'm on vacation, you know? And so I try to make sure that I'm always on call. But I will tell you a nice little tidbit was, I got a text message at like 7:45 in the morning on my birthday. It was a Saturday, from Kevin saying happy birthday. I was like, thank you. So he knew I was awake. And a few minutes later, Chael calls me, and I answer the phone, and he starts singing happy birthday.
Oh my God, nice.
I'm like, oh, I'm like, thank you. So that was very nice. That was very sweet. And he was like, enjoy your day. And yeah, and then I came back on Sunday and right back to my computer, right back to business. So I always try and take a little mini vacation after each show, because it's almost like a decompress, you know. It's like I either run out to the beach for the night or something, you know, because it's like I need to just, you know. But no, business never stops. It does not stop, and especially running all the social media accounts, there's no time off. I sleep, but I mean, my phone doesn't stop. So yeah.
It shows that you're really good at what you do, you know.
Thank you.
But not only that, it shows that you enjoy what you do.
I really do. You know, when I was a little girl, my dream was to be a wedding planner. That was I wanted to plan weddings. And I kind of joke that I still do that in a way. I still join two people together, you know, and there's an official, and there's a crowd usually, you know. And so I'm like, it's kind of like wedding planning, but not really. There's no flowers.
Now, with all this experience, matchmaking, promoting, finding the right, the right fighters, taking care of them, writing commentary and stuff like that. Today, there are so many young guys that have the potential, but they don't know how to start their MMA career. What advice and suggestion can you give to those guys?
Market yourself, first of all. If I could teach a class, honestly, like, a lot of people scoff at social media, and I understand that. I do, 100%. But it's so important, because if I'm picking, and this is for most promoters out there, if I'm picking between Joe and Jake has 1,500 followers and Joe has like, 120 family members, I'm going to go with Jake because he has more, he can get the word out more. So there's marketing for that. So market yourself. That's huge.
Oh, your cat.
My cat.
Yeah.
My cat. He doesn't care that I'm working. He doesn't care. But yeah, and the other thing is like, the kids that are coming up right now, I mean, this next generation is scary. I mean, you have fighters that are now training, wrestlers and MMA people, boxing and everything else, from this tiny young little age, and they're going to become like the next, phenoms. I mean, we had a guy this Sunday named Roberto Jimenez. He's 21, I think. Maybe he might just turn 22, a black belt. I mean, that's insane, insane. And he's phenomenal. I mean, he's absolutely phenomenal. And, people are calling him the next phenom, but so getting into wrestling is huge. If your high school offers that, wrestling as a base is so important. And, that transfers to jiu-jitsu, and just get in the gym and do what you do. Find a good coach that you trust and respect. Respect is huge. If you don't trust and respect your coach, then it won't work out, in my opinion. So, but as far as just getting your name out there, market yourself. Market yourself, believe in yourself, know what you want in the sport. The sport doesn't pay a lot, and that's a big misconception. People see McGregor and Jones up there, but they're such, they're like, what, the 1%, the Ronda Rouseys, those people are very few and far between. So it's a labor of love to want to be in this sport and try and make it to that level. It's a labor of love. Your average fighter that fights twice a year, that's not a John Jones, is probably not making, unless they like some really good sponsorships, probably not making like more than like $45,000 a year, if that. That's probably like a big number, actually.
Yeah.
So it's something that you have to be aware of, and it's a lot of sacrifice, it's a lot of time, away from family, your girlfriend, whatever, and you just have to be willing to do that. It's a lot of dedication and patience, and it's not going to happen overnight. And if it does, well, then you're the 1%. So, So,
I noticed that, like, for example, that's one thing with JockPharm, my company, with our company, we're trying to do. We're trying to help those athletes promote themselves. Because as a fighter, one of the things that you want to focus on is training, and the other thing is fighting, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you do have time to be on social media, most of the time you don't do it effectively.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
Sponsors,
we're helping
help out with
these young athletes. Well, not necessarily young. Well, everybody that needs the help. We're helping them to stand out a little bit in the MMA world. And it's crazy because, for example, I have been granted the opportunity to look for talent in Dubai and Abu Dhabi, and they have really good talent over there. Very, very good.
Yeah.
And I've been reading about them and everything, and this guy's, especially one of the biggest champions, I forgot his name, in kickbox, he earns like $300 a fight. That's nothing. Oh my God! Especially in a place like Abu Dhabi or Dubai, where things are expensive.
Yeah. I would say, I think like starting pro wages around here are like 400 to show, 400 to win. And that might not be across the board, but that's what I think the average is. And title fights, you're talking like 1,000, maybe 1,500, depending, on the promotion. And it's just kind of it's very much a labor of love. And so the marketing thing is so huge, because marketing gets you sponsors, it gets you fans. When you've had 1 or 2 fights, you're a novelty, but when you've had 8 fights, your family kind of stops going, usually, they're like, oh, good luck on your fight this weekend, but they're not it's not a reunion anymore, and so you have to just believe in yourself and market yourself and put in that time and be willing to make the sacrifice. And there's not a lot of money in it. You have to be aware and know how to play the game.
Yeah, so, be mentally strong at all times, because sometimes, especially these times, like the other day I was talking with Justin Wetzel from what's his name? Elevation Top Team, Fight Team, sorry. And he was like frustrated because he was about to get some fights this year, and now with the whole COVID, You know, there are no
Mhm.
fights. He's just waiting for a call. And
Oh, a
many
lot of fighters
face
are
that,
hurting
and when
too.
they face that, they just want to quit. They're like, "No, I tried it."
Yeah.
So that's like the crucial point that will
Mentally strong,
define you if you
absolutely.
keep on going or not.
No, you're 100% correct. The mental part of it is so critical. It's not even funny. I mean, because it's the game will beat you down. I mean, what is that? What is that quote by Rocky? The Rocky quote, it's like life will beat you down if you let it, and
And you got to keep
so
moving forward.
keep moving forward. Exactly. So I mean, and it's as simple as that, but it's as hard as that too. So I mean, there's I have quit this sport so many times. It's like when I got divorced, I wanted to quit. I tried to quit one time with the FCFF. I'm like, I can't do this. It's a lot. With my day job too, it's just too much. And luckily, I'm still here, and I'm happy I am. But it's always easier to quit, as Chael says, failure is definitely an option. It's an option at any time. I mean, and you can choose to take it very quickly, but you're not going to get where you're going, or where you want to go anyway.
Yeah,
So
you don't want to also settle down, At least
yeah,
you have a goal as an athlete. It's just you get
I mean, Chael is a perfect example of someone who marketed himself into big fights that maybe he didn't necessarily have the right to be in, with John Jones or or Anderson Silva, or whoever, he marketed himself in a way to where people wanted to see him fight wherever and whoever it was. He sold those tickets to Madison Square Garden,
yes.
but he's also that example that shows that he's still making money in the industry, which is hard to do. A lot of times fighters fight and then they don't know what to do. They're done fighting, their career's over, they're too old, whatever, and they don't know how to keep making money in this sport. That's all they've ever known. And so he commentates, and and he's also doing his own promotions now and whatever. And it's just like, you got to be able to find out what you're good at. And if you're good at marketing yourself, then you're a good talker more than likely. So find those commentary opportunities, find those opportunities. Maybe you decide to be a ref or a judge, or you open up your own gym or whatever. But there are other venues, other options, in other avenues rather, in the sport that you can still make money at. And yeah, I mean, being mentally strong and being business savvy will keep you in the game. It will. So, and you have to be willing to say okay when you get emails.
True.
Can you imagine if I said no? Someone else would be sitting here talking to you. Horrible.
Man, I would not even believe it. I would like say, nah, this bullshit. Somebody's playing with me. This is not Chael Sonnen. Like, no,
Yeah.
bam.
Yeah. I know. The first show that we did, we hadn't announced the show yet. And I was at like another local amateur MMA show, and I had just gotten hired on to do Submission Underground. And he messages me just casually. He goes, "Hey, this is Frank Mir's email. I need you to let him know the details of the show." And or no, I'm sorry. It was oh my gosh. No, I apologize. It was Kenny Florian. It was Kenny
Okay.
Florian. Kenny Florian. And the reason I remember that is because I was stressing out about emailing him. It was the first time, and it wasn't like I was being starstruck, but I was so nervous on how I was going to represent the company and whatever. And for Chael, it was simple as, here's his email address. I need you to send him the details. I didn't email him for an hour. I was like, and I'm sitting with my friends at this MMA event, and I'm like, what do I say? And when my friends was like, oh, just be like, hey, K-Flow, it's Boss Lady. I'm like, no, I can't do that, But now, I mean, if you saw my phone contacts now, I mean, just yesterday, I told you I got a new phone yesterday, and I'm like, make sure everything transfers right, But yeah, I mean, I'm talking to all sorts of people now that I would have never dreamed of being talking to, like, as far as being starstruck or whatever. It's pretty cool. I mean, the roster of names that we've had in that cage is phenomenal. So we've been very fortunate, but yeah.
That's amazing. I definitely in the future would like to work with those big names. Tell Chael Sonnen about JockPharm.
I will. I'll let him know. I don't want him to listen in, though. I was talking about too much. I don't want him to get a big head.
Okay. All right, Boss Lady.
All right.
this would be it. I have to thank you so much, you know, for taking
Yes.
the time to talk to me
Well,
today.
thanks for getting up and talking to me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. My pleasure talking to you, getting to know you more. I
Thank you.
hope we do this again. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime.
Yeah. And before I let you go, any shout outs?
Yes, well, of course. So Sunday we have Submission Underground 17, which is a trilogy match between Craig Jones and Mason Fowler. So the whole Craig didn't tap saga is going to come to an end. And immediately following, like we were just talking about, Wrestling Underground 1 is happening. My computer turned off. Wrestling Underground 1 is happening on UFC Fight Pass, also immediately following that. And it's all Sunday, August 30th, and it's, I think, $9.99. So
All right.
sign up and watch it. So, and follow us on social media.
I'll make sure to promote that also. Like, give a couple of
Thank
shout
you.
outs myself to
Appreciate that.
All right.
It all helps. All right.
All right, boss
Thank
lady.
you so
Take care,
much.
and we'll be in touch.
All right. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.